Now, the Prime Minister's former advisor, Dominic Cummings, has published a WhatsApp message that apparently shows Boris Johnson describing the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, as hopeless. In the screenshot published by Mr Cummings on social media, he messages the Prime Minister about the United States increasing testing capacity and criticises Mr Hancock's response. Boris Johnson responds, totally, expletive, hopeless. He was asked about it as he left Downing Street this morning.
Did you really think Matt Hancock was useless, sir? Why didn't you sack him?
Sounds like John Craig's dulcet tones. He didn't respond. He was asked again about his apparent description of Matt Hancock during Prime Minister's questions.
As we enter the chamber, we see what is reported to be WhatsApp communication between the Prime Minister and Dominic Cummings, and perhaps the Prime Minister will clarify whether or not these are genuine and whether the derogatory comments that he expressed on his Health Secretary are valid or not. Mr Speaker, this morning, the details of the disastrous trade deal with Australia are slowly seeping out.
Mr Speaker, this is a great deal for the UK, it's a great deal for Scotland, it's a great deal for Scottish whisky.
Well, he avoided the question there as well. Let's bring in Sky's deputy political editor, Sam Coates. Sam, what do we know about these WhatsApp exchanges? Dominic Cummings published them in a blog. He says that they are genuine. What is Number 10 saying about them?
7,600-word blog published minutes before Prime Minister's questions. Keir Starmer didn't manage to ask anything about them in the exchanges. Ian Blackford did. You saw the Prime Minister effectively sidestepping the key question, which is whether or not it's genuine. No word or response from Number 10 yet. But what's going on is that Dominic Cummings is essentially trying to challenge Matt Hancock and his evidence. This blog goes extensively through various things and makes various claims about what Matt Hancock did and didn't do and did and didn't say over the period, particularly at the height of the start of the pandemic in March last year. But leaving aside Cummings's extensively argued comments, what is fascinating is the pictures he has taken, apparently of screenshots of conversations between himself and the Prime Minister. There are three that relate to Matt Hancock. One from the 27th of March, in which, as you say, he was asked about, Dominic Cummings was talking about the testing regime, and the Prime Minister replied, totally expletive, hopeless. And then later, it would appear on the same day, he was asked about ventilators and the price of equipment, and he says it's Hancock, he has been useless. And in a third message, a month later, he appears to suggest that he considered taking Hancock off and putting Michael Gove in. Now, it's not quite clear whether he's referring to taking Matt Hancock out of his job as Health Secretary or just removing responsibility for PPE. Dominic Cummings comes back and says, well, the department that Michael Gove is running isn't going terribly well either. And so there appears to be no resolution there. Matt Hancock still in his job today. Dominic Cummings isn't, because he left in November. What is the significance of all of this? Well, I suspect that nobody, if they stop and think about it, will be that surprised that at the height of the pandemic, where you were dealing with a 1 in 100-year event, things can get quite tetchy, even at the heart of Downing Street, and that many people might have responded in similar ways. But it does raise a question about the categorical assurances that Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson were always on the same page, the denials that Boris Johnson ever had any concerns about Matt Hancock, and that he ever thought about moving him from his job or changing his role. So those are the issues to focus on if you just take the text messages alone between the Prime Minister and Boris Johnson, and a lot more to argue about if you take what else Dominic Cummings has written at face value.